with the thank you for recording. Sorry, with the authors and the special guests. Thank you for joining us out of your busy schedule at weekday night. Today, we are so glad to have about more than 50 participants here with us. Furthermore, we are really grateful that many of them donated to our project. Thank you so much for your kind assistance. ちょっと先に私の自己紹介をしています。Let me introduce myself. My name is Yoko Savane. I was born in Tokyo and married to a Senegalese from West Africa with one daughter who is now 13 years old. I am part of volunteers team of African Kids Club under Africa Japan Forum, AJF, a networking NGO based in Tokyo, which is supporting this event. I am also one of the founding members of Chez Adama, the newly established civil association in Suginamiku, Tokyo, involved in the promotion activities of this book with the authors. I'm very honored and excited to be moderator today for this event. So, still is the app is not working?
そうですね。ちょっとダメそうなので、
もう一回他の
裏
で。
でやります。ちょっと待ってください。
はい。すみません。ちょっと最初の方、アジェンダの説明、今日のプログラムの説明をするのですが、そこら辺まで、トランスレーションはないかもしれないんですが、こちらのスライドを見ていただきながら聞いていただければと思います。So let me explain briefly about today's agenda. After the introduction of the panelists, we will have brief introduction about the book by the authors, followed by panel discussion with a special guest for about 15 minutes. Following the panel discussion, we will have 20-minute Q&A session. Your active contribution would be highly appreciated because we prepare some gifts to the most active participants who contributed a lot at the Q&A session. After the event, we will select 3 winners and send them the book or Amazon gift card. So we wish you all the best. Then we will have closing remarks by the panelists at the end. So we would like to finish this program by 9 p.m. as informed, as much as possible. And we would like to appreciate, we would appreciate your kind cooperation for the time management. Thank you very much. Still not working? Okay. Anyway, we are moving to the introduction of panelists. Can you move on the slides? Yeah, because we have a translation here. So now let me introduce you the 3 amazing, brilliant, intelligent panelists for today. First, I'd like to welcome one of the authors of the book, Miss Murungi Elizabeth Webesa. She's from Uganda, which is famous as part of Africa, the beauty of the nature in East Africa, and came to Japan in 2016 to pursue a master's degree and graduated in 2022 with a PhD in civil engineering from Osaka University. She's a wife and mother of a 2-year-old son who is the inspiration of this book. Murungi is a multi-potentialist who enjoys and pursues many passions and currently doing freelance research consulting. Here are some photos of her lovely son and very supportive husband. Can you move on the slide? スライド、はい。This is when Yaya was born, and the family, the boy and Murungi-san. Okay, the next, I'd like to introduce you another author of the book, Miss Ashleigh Pencil. She's from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa and came to Japan in 2017. to pursue a master's degree in food microbiology. Her baby girl was born 6 months just after arriving in Japan in 2023. Ashleigh graduated with a PhD in nutrition education and currently working as a postdoctoral researcher at Osaka Metropolitan University. Her daughter is 7 years old now and started elementary school in April. We have some photos for her family too. Can you move on? Yes. She's getting older, getting bigger now. Yeah. So finally, let me introduce you our special guest for today's program, Miss Junko Dagba. Miss Junko was born in Kyoto City in 1975. She became a registered nurse in Japan in 2001 and currently an associate professor in the Department of Nursing, Kyoto Tachibana University. Junko is married to a Nigerian with one daughter who is 7 years old. She is also a director of African Kids Club Kansai and a director of Society of Global Community Health Nursing, a board member of 2 NGOs, Stateless Network and Africa-Japan Forum. So before panel discussion, I'd like to ask Murungi-san and Ashleigh-san to make a brief introduction of the book so that the audience can get to know the outline of and feature of the book. Chihiro-san, can you share the summary of the book?
はい、ちょっと待ってください。ごめんなさい。
はい。今ちょっと翻訳アプリがうまく起動しなくて大変かな。お待ちください。ちなみに、ムルンギさん、ちょっと手を振っていただいて、一言。何か。出ますかね。チャプター1からお願いします。スライド出そうですか。次のページ。はい。ブックサマリーということですね。はい。どうでしょう。
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Murungi. I'll do a brief overview of the book. First and foremost, we ensure that the book is short. It's only 52 pages because we know what somebody is expecting. They don't have a lot of patience. They don't have a lot of time. So the book is really from our experiences. It's made up of 6 chapters, and we tried as much as possible to make it brief and very, concise. So chapter 1 is during pregnancy. So these are some of the procedures for finding a gynecologist, a clinic, or a hospital, and how you can keep healthy, where you can get healthy food, and how you can exercise. I must say that Japan has a lot of procedures as compared to the countries where we come from, and this is why it was important we outline all these things. Chapter 2, what happens before you give birth? So there's shopping for yourself and for your baby, and finding a house. Having a child is not always pocket friendly. So you can either downgrade if you need to, or upgrade if you need larger rooms. Chapter 3 is about your expectations during birth. What are expectations during labor and delivery? And do you need a doula or you don't? So these are some of the things we highlighted or we talked about in the book. For chapter 4 is after giving birth. So what happens after giving birth? As I said, Japan has lots of procedures. So the processes of registration, declaration, and perhaps passport for your baby. We also talk about things like breastfeeding, immunization, circumcision, introducing solids, and dealing with extreme weather. For example, I come from a country that has only 2 seasons, so I had to quickly learn how to keep the baby warm or cool. So chapter 5 is about traveling with a baby. Usually when you're traveling with a baby, it feels like moving a house. So we give you tips on how to travel within Japan and abroad, and also when you need to relocate either from one city to another or from one prefecture to another. Chapter 6 is about day-to-day life. Should you take to your child to daycare or not? What are the procedures? What are the requirements? What are the available amenities for you and your baby? How can you keep your baby safe, when they start becoming mobile? And also taking care of yourself as a new mother. And for each of these chapters, we put tips and hacks that you can use to make your life easier as a new mother in Japan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your quick briefing. And next, I'd like to invite Ashleigh-san to give us some specific points.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashleigh. I'm the co-author of this book, and today I'm going to put special attention to feeding practices for the mother and for the baby. I've decided to be a lot more specific, especially on this topic, because as a person in nutrition, I often face a lot of people who have to deal with what we call dietary acculturation. This is where you have to get used to the different food environment, and you have to get yourself accustomed to the new food environment of the place you're living in. So as a pregnant woman, it's a difficult and the most challenging time, because already you're experiencing food aversions, and then also you have to adjust to new eating practices. So in this book, I shared my experiences of how I managed when I came to Japan. My situation was kind of unique because when I came to Japan, I was already expecting. I was 3 months pregnant, and I was experiencing severe food aversions. In this book, we wanted to remind expectant mothers, or everyone in general, of the importance of packing your own traditional foods from your country, because these foods, in my case, literally saved my life when I couldn't eat anything else. So we later on talked about feeding practices for the baby, but I think depending on your situation, this is an adaptable case, because if you are able to feed yourself, you'll be able to feed your baby. So my special attention is to give some insights of how to feed the mother in a new food environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashleigh-san, about the food. Yeah, because your specialty major is nutrition, right? So it's very concise. Thank you very much. So, finally, our translation is coming. Thank you very much, Jiro-san. Now, we are moving to panel discussion. So I'd like to ask some questions to the panels. During the session, we welcome any comments and questions from the floor at the comment column to be picked up at the following Q&A session. So first, for Murungi-san and Ashleigh-san, what was your motivation to write this book, and whom did you hope to inspire or inform with your story? And also, how do you think can fathers benefit from this book? Either one is okay.
So in my case, when I got pregnant, I didn't even know where to go, whom to ask. But at that time, I was lucky that we had friends who had children here. So they literally drove me to the city hall. They got me registered and gave me a crash course on how to get a hospital, how to find a guy, how to do shopping, and all these things about being a new mother. So that was when I was pregnant. When I found out I was pregnant, then during the pregnancy, I had an issue. I found out I had fibroids, and the time I went to hospital, I couldn't access a doctor at that time. Then from there, after having my baby, we had to move from Osaka to Tokyo 10 days after having the baby. And then we had a scenario whereby we found out we had 24 hours to declare the child at immigration. So all these ups and downs and everything we had to overcome. First of all, when I moved from Osaka to Tokyo, that means everyone had ever known, all the community I had disappeared. And I couldn't go out to find new community because I was in a new area. As a new mother, I didn't have any time. So that means from those experiences, I thought to myself, I can't be the only person who's going through this. And even if, and I know there'll be other people coming after. So for me, it was more about teaching people what I have learned so that it makes their lives easier. So the inspiration was to, rather, the people I would like to help or assist new parents in Japan, as well as people who are coming to Japan. It may not be your first child, it may not be your first child, but it's just having a child in Japan. And also for fathers, I feel like there's already a lot of pressure, but the guidebook can really help you to reduce a bit of that pressure, because we make sure that it's step by step. So, from this time, we're going to expect this. At this point, we're going to expect this. So it takes off a bit of the pressure, and it helps the fathers be, for lack of a better word, more helpful during this period, So in a nutshell, it was about, I have learned through my challenges. Now I want other people not to go through the same things, but to have an easier life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How about Ashleigh-san? Any comment on this?
Sure. Well, in my case, it's kind of really interesting because Murungi motivated me to share my story. When she came to me with the idea, I wasn't sure if my story would, or my experience would inspire anyone. So when I heard the idea, I was like, will it work? But when I gave it a second thought, and I realized that in many African cultures, women and girls give up their dreams when they are faced with parenthood. When I came to Japan, I was already 3 months pregnant. If it was someone else, that person would have gave up their dream to start life in a new country, new language, and on top of that, to add on to the layer, you're expecting a baby. That's just too much to handle for some people. But I decided that I wasn't going to give up because I was expecting a baby. So I wanted to share my story and inspire more women to pursue their dreams, to follow their dreams, regardless of their life situations. I want to help girls understand that your dream doesn't have to stop because you're now a parent. You can achieve both a healthy baby and a successful career.
Thank you so much. It's very brave ladies and encouraging message for all of the ladies who are expecting babies, especially. Thank you very much. So next, I'd like to ask now Junko-san, as a mother and nurse, what story or chapter in the book did you relate to the most or get more impressed, and why?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Well, firstly, I'm just so happy to be here today, and I want to send a big congratulations to Ashleigh-san and Murungi-san, because as Ashleigh-san mentioned, I know just being a mother and becoming a researcher is not an easy task at all. I know that. And I also sent my daughter, when she was 3 months old, to a nursery. So from there to now, especially when the baby was, still, crawling. And then when she was like 3 years old, I was, I don't know how many times I cried at night. So I was thinking like that when Ashleigh was mentioning about it. Well, so here I'm a nurse, and I'm just so happy that being invited to this talk and in point of view, nurse's view, right? So I would like to share some of my thoughts on the book. And then I would say, all the chapters were so interesting. And then it was full of stories that many Japanese people might think it is something they have never heard of or never thought about it, right? And due to the time limitation, I would like to quickly just look through chapter 3 and 4 here and give you some comments. So, chapter 3 was about the day and after the delivery, right? And reading this chapter, I remembered a lot of good memories also of my own and my baby girl too. So it was so lovely part. And then in chapter 3, I thought it was very interesting that the authors talked about tap water. So in Japan, as everybody knows, I think people are more used to drinking water, out of tap. Or at least I'd say they trust the water more than Africans do. And then I believe Japanese people can learn the reasons why, and my husband too, actually, why they are more careful and they want to avoid tap water, especially when a new baby is here with you. So that was what I thought in chapter 3. Of course, there are many more things, many more topics that it's interesting. I just finished it here. And let's move to chapter 4. And actually, this chapter 4 was, to be honest, the most interesting part for me. So I want to mention many topics here too, but I will just keep it secret and give you just 2. So the first one is circumcision for boys. It should be something that many Japanese people had never heard about. But this is actually very important information, especially for medical staffs in Japan. And especially where authors mentioned about how to prevent the exposed penis of the baby and how to keep it not to touch the diaper. That's probably something that we have never discussed about. So relating to these medical topics, authors also talked about immunization, vaccination, right, as well. I'm myself also is very curious about, what do you want to, want your children to get vaccinated or not? I'm sure that many nurses, midwives are curious about this. So second topic is about the extreme weather you mentioned. As as discussed in chapter 4, the extreme weather is surely one of the biggest and worst challenges. Not only the babies, of course, for the mothers and fathers, I know. And no matter where you are, Japan has such high temperature and humidity, right? And it can even get worse if you are in the mid-city like Osaka, Tokyo, everywhere, anywhere. And myself, as wife of an African, I can tell this weather difference can even affect or even hit your health quite badly in some situation. So this is all about my comments for especially chapter 3 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Junko-san, commenting about, especially focusing on the chapter 3 and 4. I think these things are, they can continuously answered and also related to the next question to Murungi-san and Ashleigh-san. You came from different culture, different from Japan. And one of you should tell me one similarity and the others difference between pregnancy and childcare in Japan and your home country. What other good points you think other countries could learn from Japan?
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
So really, there are a lot of differences compared to similarities. When we were discussing about this issue, in my case, I still cannot find the similarities. But I mean, look, first, let's talk about some differences. I was amazed by the level of care I received at the hospital. I felt like I was in a hotel. It's so nice to give birth in Japan. It's so nice, speaking from experience. And everything is just so different. Of course, we were faced with language barriers, but in my case, the nurses were so patient with us. Like in my case, they were so patient. And where possible, they even tried to sign language some things so that I could understand. In my country, that's a different situation altogether. We have the same language, we understand each other well, but the amount of care and patience is kind of different. Yeah, and also I would like to talk about hospital food. Here, it's well prepared. I mean, they have hospital dietitian, they provide nutritionally balanced meals, and they have this special meal to celebrate the new mother. It's usually given on the last day before discharge day. Yeah, it was an amazing meal. I still have the pictures now. So the difference is, I would say, in my case, I will put special attention on the amount of hospital care and the food they provide. And also, the government has a lot of initiatives and programs which support pregnant mothers. For example, do you know the small tag that you get from the ward office and you have to hang it on your bag to show that you're expecting? That was an amazing thing. I thought it was very thoughtful for the government to do that for expectant mom, because it felt like every time I had that on my bag, suddenly everyone was extra careful around me. Yeah, so that's one of the differences. But the similarities, I guess I would say that there are some people who just become extra cautious around expectant mothers. In my country, people are kind of they give preferential treatment to expectant mothers, like giving up their seat on the bus or on the train. That's just one of the similarities I could think of. Over to you, Murungi.
Murungi-san, どうですか? Are you
I am juggling along with this young man in the background.
Okay.
Finding ways to distract him. So, as Ashley said, I think because we talked about this just before, there's really more differences than similarities based on our experiences, especially growing up where we've grown up. And as she said, one of the similarities is trying to give preferential treatment to pregnant women. This is something I saw and also experienced, especially when I went back home with my son last year at many public places, because we went to immigration, we went to hospitals, we went to other places. When you have a child, if you're pregnant, they, as much as possible, they try to let you jump or skip the line, which I thought was really, really thoughtful. However, the differences are many, and I think the differences are mostly because of the extreme difference in our cultures. Japanese and, well, I would say Ugandans or African. The culture is really, really different. And of course, as you know, the development of our systems is really, really different. However, I'd like to point out something that I felt was a little bit, what can I say? Every time we'd visit the gyne, you have all these tests you're doing. So they send you to this lab, to this lab, to this lab, and then they say, come back next week or 2 weeks or a month for the results. So when you'd come back, they'll get the results, look at the results, and say, okay, we'll do something. And then they say, okay, come back for your test on this day. Here is how much you're supposed to pay. So sometimes I felt that the doctors were a little bit cold because I would like to know what my results say, whether they're okay or not. I would like you to tell me this is what the results say. they're okay, they're in an okay range, or they're not okay, and you know. And sometimes when we'd ask questions, because me, I ask a lot of questions, by the way. And in our case, my husband is really good with Japanese, so it wasn't really so much language barrier. But every time we'd ask the doctors, they would reply, but then we'd ask more questions for follow up. It felt like I was, excuse me, it felt like I was disturbing their peace. And it's not only actually the gyns, also other doctors that I go to ordinarily. Very few of them take off time to try and connect on a more humanly level. It feels very mechanical. So it takes off that warmth of doctor-patient relationship that I think is very important, especially at a critical time when you're pregnant, when you're about to give birth. So we could go on and on and on the whole night about the differences, but for me, I think that is what really stuck out. And of course, as Ashley said, it's really the system is really nicely done so that you don't suffer a lot. Everything is subsidized with the tickets that you get from the city hall. Although I did not wear the tag when I was pregnant because I felt like, no, I don't want to be tagged. So I never put it on any of my bags or any of my clothes because I just felt it was too much. I mean, I can already see my stomach, so I don't want someone behind me to also know that I'm walking around pregnant, you know? So I didn't use the tag. So for me, those are the differences and the similarities and the major differences that I felt.
Okay, thank you very much. There are many good points and points to be improved, I think. But I'm very basically happy that you enjoyed maternity. I mean, especially the hospital after giving birth. You could get good rest, I think. Anyway, thank you very much. It's very a short panel discussion, but let's move on to the Q&A session. I think audience enjoyed our discussion and may have some questions or comments to the panel. Before there are so many.
Hello.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So we have 3 questions from the participants. The first one is from Claire Muhido. So she has one for Murungi and one for Ashley. The one for Murungi says, speaking of community, what would you say to a new mom who just moved to Japan or to a new city or location and hasn't built a community yet? How can they easily navigate to find a supportive community? This one is for Murungi.
So it's about community.
Yes, it's about community building, how to find a new community.
Well, community, as we know it, at least back home, is a little bit different as that in Japan. But if you do belong to any religious affiliation, that's a very good starting point. The other point is you could ask at the city hall. Usually they have a long list of mom groups. So you could also ask if you can get access to those mom groups. Though I've realized, especially for example here in Ichikawashi, I was shown the list of mom groups, and all of them are really about helping Japanese mothers. So maybe depending on your city, you might be lucky to find one that is for foreigners, because I mean there's always that language barrier. But the city hall is really a good place to start, and wherever you belong, whether you're Christian or what, you know. And also, for me, the community I really had was online. I would constantly call Ashley almost every time about food. I would call Grace about keeping my son warm. I would text different people for all this. So you could also surround yourself with an online community, at least for starters, until you become more comfortable with going out and talking to mothers and going to the city hall, going to places like the Kodomo cans and things like that. So for now, I would say just get those people around you, whoever you can get, even if it's just online for the start. Then you slowly understand your environment and how your city works. Then you'll slowly also start building those communities. So it's just step by step.
Thank you, Murungi-san. The next question is for Ashleigh-san. Also for Ashleigh, seeing as you arrived in Japan while pregnant, how did you navigate the language barrier in hospital? I assume you had little to no knowledge of the language. Share some tips.
Well, that was a tough one. I had zero knowledge of the language. And first of all, before I answer this, I would like to acknowledge one of my very good life friends, Fatu Williams. She's somewhere here. Fatu was my everything during my journey. And in terms of navigating the language barrier, we struggled together. You know, it's easier when you're struggling with someone, you know, so I and whatever she accompanied me to the ward office and everywhere. So as I mentioned before, in some cases, I had to sign what I wanted to say, like sign language, what I wanted to say. And in my case, I would like to say that I was fortunate enough to meet people who understood my situation and extended grace and patience. So I really don't have a lot of tips to share, except to say that it's probably wise. I didn't do this, but if I look in retrospect, I wished I had made an effort to study the language. Yeah, especially because I had an extra situation. I should have done my best to be able to communicate. But I guess part of my communication success was due to the help I got from Fatu, who was with me all the time and basically helped me navigate everything that happened.
Thank you very much, Ashleigh-san. The next question I see it's shown on the screen here. It's from Nela. How long will it take for a new mother to start work in Japan after giving birth? When either of you can answer this question, perhaps. Murungi-san, Ashleigh-san, who is going to answer? How long will it take for a new mother to start?
Maybe Junko-san should, also give us a perspective from, legal and, medical side of
Okay,
Japan.
sure. Well, it's decided by law. Like a postnatal leave must be the 6 weeks. I think it was 6 weeks, right? And then you must have rest. But other than that, that you can work if you want to work. But you can also have like maternity leave if you're working as full time. And even as a part time, also you have your right, just to ask for that. But it really depends on the condition that you work in. So in my case, for example, I was working full time, and then that time actually I was just taking part time jobs as a lecturer, but I was actually had a right, just to have like a full time salary. So I just decided to start get back to work after 3 months of giving birth. So what I needed to do was just to look for the hoikuen, right? Hoikuen is the nursery, but if it's yochien, it's more like shortened time, and then I can't really work full time. So like me as a researcher, like a university lecturer, that time, I had to find a nursery where I can send my daughter from 7 a.m. I mean, actually 7:30 a.m. until like 7:10 p.m. So I use it fully, even on Saturdays, but not Sundays. So like that, it really depends on how you want to, build up your career. Am I just answering the question?
I think it provided enough details. If Nela-san wants more details, she can ask in the chat box. So
Okay.
the last question is not really a question; it's a comment from Claire Mugido. She says she thinks the major differences between probably Japan and in Uganda is the amount of documentation and paperwork involved, the counseling offered to new parents at the city hall, the money paid out to expectant moms, the amount of blood samples taken and the number of tests done. So she feels like Uganda doctors are more open to answering questions. In Uganda, she had a very good relationship with her doctor, and she could contact them at any time of the day in case of any questions or urgent issues. So she feels like there's a little bit of lack of that here in Japan. So similarities, moms and new parents get special treatment here in Japan. That's what Claire Mohido shared with us. Then we have one comment from Neo. They say, when I was in the maternity ward, Tokyo, the nurses had translation devices. I think it's a recent thing. Well, I guess some people use translation devices to communicate these days, so that's also amazing. That's all we have from the chat box for now.
Excuse me, sorry, I have a question as well. I wrote in the chat box.
Please go ahead.
That it was in the chat box, but like apparently it was not. Anyway, hi. Thank you so much for this presentation. I'm really glad to be here. So my name is Siga, and I've been in Japan for around 10 years, and now I'm working. So my question is, how do you juggle pregnancy, not even pregnancy, but like, motherhood and working at the same time, especially before the child goes to nursery school or kindergarten? Because from what I know, you can take maternity leave up to like 1.5 years, but then after that, for example, there is a let's say if you don't find a hoikuen or you don't find a hoikusho or yochien, so like how would you juggle the two? Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, I think I'll answer this question while also sharing my experience in summary. So basically, the most important thing is for you to register and try to register for hoikuen, nursery school, well in advance. As long as you're working, you have to produce the paperwork, right? You have the paperwork that you're working. That's what they need at the ward office. So the trick is to apply in advance so that you don't have to go through the waiting time. The waiting time is the difficult part if you have to go to work. So in my case, I was able to apply in advance and submit paperwork from the university, and then I could leave my daughter in the morning and pick her up in the evening. So with regards to juggling, I would probably say that babies thrive on routines. You have to find a routine that works for you. And this is what saved me most of the time. Otherwise, I was always tired, frustrated, because it's just me and my daughter here. It was tough. But then I realized that the moment we stuck to a certain routine, my life got easier. And babies, they somehow know the routine. And if by chance I changed something, things would be chaotic. So I tried by all means to stick to a certain routine. That's how I managing my work life and being a mom and everything. So routine means probably your morning routine, what time you wake up, the preparation, doing things the night before, during the weekends, preparing your meals in advance, having organized days for laundry and all of that. And in Hoikuyen, they require you to bring a lot of clothes. So part of your routine should include endless laundry, all those small things, probably part of what will give you a big headache in trying to juggle things. And also rest as much as you can. It's hard to rest when you're so busy, but I would say whenever you can, as much as you can, try to rest, because while resting, you manage your anger and frustration, which comes to pressure, child-related pressure, work-related pressure. So yeah, in summary, register for Hoikuen well in advance, and also have a specific routine and try to stick to it. babies thrive on routine. Babies and children, they thrive on routine. And the third thing, prioritize rest and your mental health. It matters. In as much as you want to take care of your baby, take care of yourself as well. Thank you.
Just
Right.
to add
Thank
to what
you.
to what Ashley has said, she has really summarized it very well. But I can't emphasize the point of resting anymore. I work from home. Sometimes I do contract work, so I work from home. And by nature, I'm a busybody. By nature, I'm a busybody. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing the other. I think Ashley can also attest to that. Sometimes I'm telling her, I'm doing this, I want to try the other. But I have a child at home, and he hasn't gone to daycare yet. So I find myself overwhelmed, angry, burnt out. I've burnt out since I gave birth. I've burnt out about 4 times, and it's not a good feeling when you burn out. That you have a child who's looking to you to do everything. So find time to rest, and also stay away from perfection. If the laundry is not done for 3 days, it's okay. No one is going to take you to the police. If you have given your if you've given your child Weetabix for breakfast 3 days in a row, it's only 3 days in a row. It's not going to affect their entire life forever. You do as much as you can, as best as you can. If you haven't scrubbed your bathroom in a week, in 2 weeks, no one is coming to inspect you. So extend yourself grace as an individual. First and foremost, extend yourself grace and know that the kids are here, yes, but they're going to grow up. And when they grow up, some of these things, you look back and you wonder why you stressed. There's some things I look back on and I wonder, why was I stressing so much over this and that? But now, as Ashley said, we have a routine. Sometimes I forget something and he tells me, Nene, you haven't brushed my teeth. So because we have a routine, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Here you go. You brush your teeth while I finish this. So extend yourself grace, and as Ashley said, have a routine.
Thank you very
Thank you very much
much.
to both of you. Thanks.
Thank you. So final question maybe
Yes.
from Miracle-san.
Yes. So we have a question from Miracle-san. She wrote in Japanese, so I translated. So basically, she says she's a third-year nursing student from Kanagawa Prefecture. She apologized for using Japanese and shared that her mother faced difficulties getting accepted by hospitals due to starting to conceive to try for a baby in her 40s and being a foreign national. So she's asking if any of the panelists have had similar experiences of having difficulties getting accepted by hospitals due to starting conceiving in their 40s.
Well, for me, in my case, for starters, I didn't get pregnant in my 40s. However, I did have a slight similar experience. As I said, I woke up one morning and I had blinding pain. The fibroids were really out of control. I stayed in my house for 2 days. At that time, many of my close friends had already left, so I didn't have anyone to call. My husband was in Tokyo, I was in Osaka. So I finally found someone I could contact. I had been going to a different clinic for checkup, for antenatal, but they had accepted to write me a letter to join a hospital close to my house, close to my university at that time. So when I finally got the letter and finally got the energy to go, I reached the hospital. I think it was around 1:30, and the lady at the reception said they couldn't see me. It was beyond the time for accepting new persons and things like that. And I told her, I have been in pain for 2 days. This is the only time I have gotten energy, because it took me 2 days to get that energy to go to the hospital. And she said, no, it's too late. And then she said something to the effect, maybe if you come in an ambulance, then we shall be able to admit you. I told her, but I am here. Why do I need to come in an ambulance? you know. So she continued saying, but that is the protocol. I told her, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I am staying here. So you're either going to get something to throw me out of the hospital, or you're going to get me treatment. So after like almost 3 hours is when I actually got someone, a doctor, to see me. So I do understand, I do feel that pain of not getting medical treatment when you need it at the time. And I'm so sorry that your mom had to go through that. And actually, those are some of the things that I feel like, the Ministry of Health, the people in the health profession, they need to think about some of these things. I mean, we come from different cultural backgrounds. I remember a friend of mine, a friend of mine gained weight beyond a certain level they had told her. And the doctor said, if you gain any extra kilogram, I'm going to stop seeing you. But for some people, our bodies just blow up, especially when you're pregnant, and sometimes you really can't help it. So perhaps these are some of the things that need to be addressed, especially in places where there are many foreigners, because we're different, we are really different. And I did know that actually hospitals stop seeing people at 11:30. Had I known, I would have somehow tried to go there earlier, but I doubt it, because in my situation, I was really down. I literally crawled to my door and crawled down the stairs to get into a taxi to take me to hospital. So in that state, it was really complicated. So for me, I'm just sharing my experience and hoping that, medical experts here could think about some of these things.
Go ahead.
I think we are running out of time, so just 1 minute.
Okay, I just want to say something quickly. First of all, Miracle, I'm sorry your family had to go through something like that, but I hope you can get the help you need in the future. So what I realized was that some doctors are risk averse. They do not want to take the risk of taking care of foreigners who have high risk or high complication rates. So I just hope if this happens in the future, you don't take it personally. Just think of it as if they are genuinely trying to look out for you in a certain way. But also what I know is that there's always that one clinic or that one doctor who is happy to have you as a client, but as a patient. But then what you have to do is to research. That's how we survive here in Japan. We should just research. I was rejected once by this one doctor who felt could not talk to me in English. So their issue was that I can't speak Japanese and they couldn't speak English. So they thought that if there was some form of miscommunication and something happens, they didn't want to take the risk. So they rejected me. So my advice to you is that if you are rejected somewhere, try elsewhere. Just research as much as possible.
Thank you very much for your very practical advice from two of you. Yeah, it's very sad to close this session because we have many questions and comments, and they wanted to talk more, but it's time to close the session. So finally, can we have some short comments, any final remarks from each of the panelists? Just 30 seconds. Murungi-san.
Well, for me, it's really a vote of thanks. First of all, I'd like to thank our families, my husband Bagu and Takara Monoyaya, and Ashley's daughter Aretha, the golden girl. Without them, we all wouldn't be here. So I'd like to thank our families first and foremost, and of course my mother. I can see she joined in. Thank you so much, all our friends, and in a special, I'd like to thank Chiho Maeda. She's not here with us today, but Chiho connected us to amazing people of Chez Adama, that is Yoko-san and Chihiro-san, who who have been working with us, in the background there, trying to make this book launch, make the book launch happen. So thank you so much to all the NPOs that have given us advice, shared the book, the local governments, and everyone, as well as Junko-san. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you've done for us, and really hope moving forward we can all try to find ways to help each other coexist, i.e., to help foreigners in Japan live a more comfortable life, in Japan, especially in this critical time of becoming a parent. It's really critical for everyone. So for me, it's really a vote of thanks.
Thank you. Ashleigh-san.
Well, for me, I cannot separate my motherhood experience from my experience of having an amazing friend, Patu. I just have to talk about her because she helped me at a time I was vulnerable. So I would like to take this opportunity and publicly say, Fatu Williams, thank you so much for your love and support during my pregnancy. I wouldn't have done this without you. And I just don't know how much I can express my thanks and my gratitude. And yeah, after that, I would like to say thank you to Chez Adama for supporting us. This has been an amazing experience. And thanks to Murungi. Murungi, thank you so much for motivating me to write this book. If it wasn't for your brilliant idea, we wouldn't have been here today. As co-authors, we do have our ups and downs, clash of ideas. That happens a lot. But at the end of the day, we produced something amazing. Thank you so much for that. And yeah,
Thank
that's all
you
I'd like to
very
say.
much for your great friendship. And Junko-san, please.
Well, no, thank you very much for tonight. And when I was just hearing all the discussion, I just became pretty sure that this book is going to be something for new mothers, and especially who came to this country for the first time. I know there's so much differences, right? And there are so many things that you have to tackle with. But what I think, the most important thing is that we discuss, we talk. Though I know Japanese people don't, but you have to. And then I also became pretty sure this book can be a very good textbook for us, like nurses. We are the front lines. You have to let us know. So thank you for tonight very much. Thank you very much for everybody too.
Thank you very much, Murungi-san, Ashleigh-san, and Junko-san. And also thank you very much for the meaningful comments and dedicated contributions from the audience. Also, I'd like to thank Bagu-san for its very grateful help for the Q&A. He's a husband of Murungi-san, actually. And yeah, so any other mothers? Yeah, we have two. Can you go on to the last slide, please? Yeah, please don't forget to reply to the questionnaire regarding this event. QR code is here, and the link is pasted in the comment field, I think. And if you have further questions and comments, please write in the questionnaire, and it will be helpful for us to make another event in the future. Also, we need your kind help for the promotion of the book, such as distributing the flyer at your workplaces, hospital, clinic, city hall, embassies, etc., or sharing the book information and book review on SNS. So if you need hard copies of the flyer, please email to representative address of Chez Adama. And you can purchase, of course, the book through Amazon. The QR code is here. And if you read the book, please try to leave the review comments on Amazon, which will be helpful and attractive to get more readers. So I think that's all for today. Thank you all for your kind cooperation. and hope to see you again for another occasion in the future. And good night. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ありがとうござい
ありがとうございま
ます。
した。
ありがとうございます。